For melee Barretts, your two options are the Wrecking Ball and the Steel Pincers. The Wrecking Ball is built for physical damage, while the Steel Pincers are still good at physical damage, but are primarily designed for magic damage. But which one does more damage overall? Let's put it to the test today. Let's start with physical damage. I will be testing this using the move Overrun, which is his triangle ability when you have a melee weapon equipped. I will be testing this at level 50 with maximum upgrades and no materia. I'm doing this because when you want to run an experiment, you want to keep everything the same between your trials except for the one thing that you want to change, which in this case is the weapon. Testing the Wrecking Ball first, the first overrun did 1900 damage, pretty respectable given that there's no materia or accessories. The second overrun I did 1800 damage, so slightly less but still a similar amount. Now let's take a look at the Steel Pincers. The first overrun with the Steel Pincers did 1700 damage, so slightly less than the Wrecking Ball. The second one I did also did 1700 damage. So yeah, physical damage was obviously going to go to the Wrecking Ball from the very start. But now let's spice it up. Let's throw in an elemental materia. We'll be using fire since that's what this opponent is weak to. The Wrecking Ball with a fire elemental did 2300 damage, so a very noticeable increase. The second overrun I did 1400 damage, but that's only because he cast a barrier on himself, so that one doesn't count. Now let's take a look at the Steel Pincers. Putting a fire elemental on the Steel Pincers leads overrun to deal 2400 damage, which is more than the Wrecking Ball does with a fire elemental. The same thing happened with the barrier magic, but this time it did 1500 damage. So I think it's clear that adding an elemental leads the Steel Pincers to do more damage, even though it has a lower physical damage. Let's do one more physical damage test, but this time with double magic up materia, which actually improves the damage that the elemental materia does. The Wrecking Ball with fire elemental and 2 magic ups did 2600 damage on its first overrun. Very good. And the second overrun did 2700, even better. However, unfortunately for the Wrecking Ball, the Steel Pincers did even better, dealing 2800 damage with the first overrun and 2900 with the second. So even with double magic up materia, the Steel Pincers still has the edge over the Wrecking Ball. However, there's a whole nother side to this. There's also magic damage. Let's test that right now. I'll be using fire just like before, but I'll also throw in a first strike materia just to allow me to cast magic faster. Don't worry, it doesn't actually impact stats at all. A level 1 fire spell with the Wrecking Ball did 1200 damage rounding up, which is pretty mid. The second one did the same amount. Taking a gander at the Steel Pincers, the first fire did 2000 damage, which is a lot more obviously. The second one only did 1600. I'm not sure why it did so much less, but it did. It was obvious from the very start who the victor would be, so this one's not really a surprise. Now, like we did with physical damage, let's test with double magic ups. The Wrecking Ball with double magic ups did 2000 damage, same as the Steel Pincers did. The next one did 2300 damage, but it was a critical hit, so it would have dealt less if it wasn't one. The Steel Pincers, on the other hand, did 3000 damage with double magic ups. The second time it only did 2500. Again, I'm not really sure why it was lower, but it is. Again, with this one, the victor was obvious from the start. I just want to compare the two. So in the end, the Steel Pincers prevail. The only situation in which the Wrecking Ball does more damage is if you don't have an elemental materia. It's kind of sad. I think if these weapons are brought back, the Wrecking Ball should definitely be buffed. The Steel Pincers shouldn't be so close behind the Wrecking Ball in physical attack. Well, anyways, that concludes this video. Hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.